Thank you so much, Susan. And we are so excited to have Kaela Armstrong with us today. So Kaela is the past president of Beta Rho chapter at Idaho State University, and she is also our Region 4 Collegiate representative on Phi U National Council. So she holds a leadership position at the national level with Phi Upsilon Omicron, and we're so grateful for Kaela's leadership. Kaela and her chapter have done a fantastic job implementing GreekTrack. So if you're excited, we're excited too. If you're feeling dreadful, we're going to resolve it today. So we implemented GreekTrack in 2021. So we've had it for a while, but just coming out of COVID, a lot of different things, it took some time to kind of get everyone acclimated, and we understand that it's still a process. So it is a wonderful tool to you. And like most software, it may take a minute to kind of catch on, but I think once you do, you're going to love it. Kaela's going to share some more about just how her chapter actively utilizes GreekTrack for chapter management, communication, just different perspectives. I'm here to always answer questions for you, but I am looking at things from a national perspective. So Kaela has real experience as a chapter officer and how they implement the various features of GreekTrack. And just as a reminder, there's no other special place you have to go. If you go to phiu.org and click on log in, you can find yourself that way. And I encourage you to do so some point this evening. So with that, I will hand it over to Kaela, and thank you so much for being here.
All right, thanks so much for those introductions, y'all. And thank you everybody that's here. I'm gonna go ahead and share a little presentation I put together. Is everyone able to see that? Just thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So like Melissa said, my name is Kaela. I'm currently the Region 4 Collegiate representative, and I was the Beta Rho chapter president last year, and we're going to be talking about GreekTrack today. So some things to expect in this presentation. First off, we're just going to go over why should we be using GreekTrack. Then we'll go a little into initiation and transitioning members. Then I'll show y'all how to find resources, how to create and view events. I'll talk about some pros and cons of communication features in GreekTrack, some other features that are optional that Beta Rho hasn't decided to use at this point, and then I'll open the floor to questions. I do want to mention here that, like Melissa had said, from the national perspective, GreekTrack looks a little different, and from an officer perspective, it also looks different. So if you're not a chapter officer, your GreekTrack is going to look a little bit different from this, and you might not have access to all these features. The general ideas will still be there, though, so this would still be great to watch for you. And the other thing I want to mention is that GreekTrack is a work in progress. We recognize that it could be more user-friendly than it currently is. So if you're watching this on YouTube in a couple months, some things might be looking a little different at that point. The goal is always for those things to be improved and easier to find, but if it looks different, that's probably why. So why should we be using GreekTrack? The number one reason that I love it is because it helps us to organize chapter records and data for use by future members and officers. So especially at the collegiate level, I know that there's a lot of officer turnover, people graduate, people have other commitments, and it's just normal. College is a busy time. But what's really hard when we have officer turnover that I've experienced personally is when you have an officer leave and they take all the records and information they were doing with them, and then they're not reachable for some reason. So I love GreekTrack because it kind of puts everything in one place. So when we do have new officers come in, they know where to go to find the things that they need. The other thing that I love GreekTrack for is that it's required for members to apply for scholarships, fellowships, and awards. And Phi U, we're really honored as members because Phi U is an honor society that will help support our education and our professional careers financially if we apply for SFA stuff. So you have to be on GreekTrack to apply for that. So we all got to be on GreekTrack. So we're going to start this where we start in Phi U, which is at initiation. The things that I've heard from a lot of different chapters, and that I'm sure Melissa has heard too, is that the invites from GreekTrack look like spam, or they're not personable enough. I hear you. I agree. I definitely didn't know what it was the first time I got a GreekTrack email. So I want to say, in regards to initiation, the first and most important thing for everyone to do is to keep your traditions. FIU is over 100 years old. We predate the internet. We definitely predate GreekTrack, and we totally have the right to keep those things that are special to us and our traditions close to our heart. And that's totally fine. GreekTrack is meant to enhance our experience as FIU members, not to detract from it and replace things that we've done for years and years. So first and foremost, keep your traditions. If that's tapping, if that's making a big deal, handing out, hand delivering invitations, I love that. In Beta Rho, we're a little more mellow with our traditions. We used to have letters go out. Now our initiation chair sends personalized emails. And so I have a little screenshot here of kind of what part of the letter that's attached to the email looks like. At the end of the email, now that we're utilizing GreekTrack more, she includes and I left my notes at home, so I'm going to misquote this, but our initiation chair includes like a little blurb at the end that says, a GreekTrack email will follow. If you are interested in accepting this invitation, please click the link in that email and set up your account. Like I said, it's something like that. Sorry, I totally left my notes at home, but the expectation is set right away, and our invitees can go in and set up their GreekTrack from that email. If for some reason they delete that email, or hopefully it's not going to spam, but if that happens, if it's lost somehow, our invitees can go to the GreekTrack website now, select FIU, and then put in their first name, last name, and email, the same information that we put in there to add them as invitees, and they can hit accept invitation on their, as soon as they log in, it's right there for them. We were able to add that feature to help people when those things go missing. So that's available now. And then the last big thing that we do in Beta Rho is we set expectations for how our chapter will use GreekTrack. So before initiation, about 30 minutes before, new initiates come in, and Jennifer Reeder, our advisor, she talks to them about like the history of FIU, what to expect as a member of Beta Rho. And now she's included GreekTrack, making sure everyone's on there, doing like a little GreekTrack tour, and what to expect coming from GreekTrack in our chapter. All right, so after people are initiated, we need to transition them into members. So how you do that is you're going to go to the home page of your officer dashboard. So as soon as you log into GreekTrack, you'll see something like this, maybe a few less announcements, but then you'll go to members, and in the drop-down tab, go to transition members, and you'll be taken to a page that looks a little something like this. So for invitees, if you need to add invitees, you can do that from here. There's also a secondary place to do that on the dashboard. And then I want to specifically point out down at the bottom of this screenshot that it says invitees will automatically transition to initiate once they accept their invitation and pay their membership fee. At least from the local level, we cannot force people to go from invitee to initiate. They have to go in and accept that invitation for that to happen. It's a really easy process, and then they automatically move into initiate. But after initiation, that's when we officers need to step in and initiate them. So I did remove the names of my members from these screenshots, so there's just kind of floating boxes. But usually next to the floating boxes, there would be names of initiates, and you would just click their check box next to their name. And once you have everyone selected, you would initiate the initiates, and that'll move them into members. Another really cool thing that happens, besides this fun little banner you get at the top once you do that, once you transition people, is on the home page for officers, an invoice will populate for national dues to be paid. I love that. It's so easy to use. You can just click on that invoice and you can pay with a credit card through there. There's a small processing fee, but nothing that I've ever worried about, and I'm a stickler for processing fees. So you can go in, pay it through there, or you can download the invoice as a PDF and send it to whoever manages payments like that at your university for your chapter. All right, so I want to pause here really quick. That was a lot of information really fast. Does anyone have any questions about initiation or transitioning members on GreekTrack?
Well, I have a question.
So do I.
Okay.
Okay, so credit card, who are we paying? Who are they paying?
Oh, it's going to Chase WePay, and Melissa, you might have a little bit more information about this, but I know it goes to national office because you haven't bothered me for more membership dues.
So if we add to the membership dues a local fee, what happens?
So right now, we're set up to invoice the chapter, which is what we've always done, right? So the invoice from the national office is going to invoice at the rate of $60 per collegiate member times however many members. That's going to automatically generate, just like Kaela said, through this process. Once you hit initiate initiates for the number that you have checked, it's going to automatically calculate that. So if you are wanting to accept credit card payments for local dues, that will be a separate conversation we can certainly have. But that would be, you have the ability in GreekTrack to set up a credit card processor, just like Square or, PayPal, any of those things where it just dumps into your account nightly. Now, certain universities may or may not permit that. If your banking institution is separate from your university account, you probably have a little more flexibility, but you certainly can invoice individual members from a chapter standpoint. The national office just doesn't manage local dues. So it may be that, you guys receive things differently for local, but we don't invoice members directly. So the member's not going to see anything from us that a balance is due. Only the chapter officers and advisors will see that invoice balance due. So in your letter inviting them to initiation, and I don't mean to steal your thunder, Kaela, you're probably going to touch on this, but you can personalize a paragraph within that letter. So if you want to add in local dues are $10 or $25 or whatever, they should be brought to this room, payable to whomever, come see Dr. Fortenberry. You have the flexibility to personalize a paragraph in both the invitation email letter and also in the welcome acceptance letter. So we do not dictate anything about local dues, but your chapter does have the same software services that the national office has, in that you can accept payments through credit card for your chapter.
Yeah, so we don't accept a credit card, we accept cash, check, or Venmo. And so generally we actually collect the local dues at the same time we collect the initiation dues. So one time. And so that would confuse, I guess we'd have to just say you're going to be paying only the initiation fee now, and you're going to have to pay the other when you come to initiation.
No.
Well, Yeah, I'll let Kaela explain, but it's no different. The member is never going to see that invoice. They're going to see a letter that says initiation dues are $60. Your personalized paragraph is going to say, bring $85 to Dr. Fortenberry on Friday, or whatever you want to say. The chapter leadership, meaning officers and advisors, are who see the invoice, if that makes sense. So it's essentially no different. You just have an added feature of you could accept credit cards as a chapter, but the credit card payment that the invoice you're going to see is going to be, $240, and it will be the chapter's responsibility to pay that. How you pay that, if you want to send in a check to the national office, or, if you want to pay by credit card, that flexibility, or you can do even an ACH transfer through the GreekTrack. But I think when you walk through it in real time, it'll make more sense, but it shouldn't be any different from that standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
I think where a little bit of what you might be getting at is that The invoice that generates when you go from initiate to member is only for those national dues. But if you were to send an invoice to individual people, that's for whatever amount they owe your chapter. So if they're like in my chapter, our graduates pay for their stoles, but we pay for their cords. So when we pay the national office, we include that cord and stole payment as one. But when we get the money from our members, they're only paying for the one thing. Does that help make a little bit more sense? I think. Oh no, I think the invoice thing makes it like sound a lot more technical than it is. It's just, you guys owe this much money, and that's just what it's listed as is an invoice, but it's not that they are having to pay separate things. You can lump it together in one amount.
Right. That's right. So the chapter can manage their invoicing however they want. If you want to send the chapter's responsible for collecting the individual dues, as they have always been. That's no different. It's just that when you log in as advisor or Kaela logs in as president, she's going to see an invoice on her dashboard that shows these are the 4 new members you just initiated and you owe national dues. So how you choose to then pay that national invoice, that's still up to you. So we don't know what every chapter charges locally either. So that's why we let you personalize it in that letter. But yeah. These are good questions though.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kyle, you're up.
Yep. So my question was, I'm looking at my transition members page. And if I have invitees that are still over in invitees, how would I know that they were initiated and that GreekTrack just isn't updated?
Yeah, so that is why setting like the expectations and making sure all your new initiates are aware of how to utilize GreekTrack is going to be really important, because if your invitees have never gone on GreekTrack or opened the invitation from GreekTrack and accepted, they will be stuck in invitee forever. So if you have people on there that you're like, oh, they're a member or they were already initiated, we got to get in contact with them and be like, hey, we're missing a step here. We skipped over GreekTrack because like I said, at the local level, we can't move them into initiate. They have to accept that invitation themselves. And then after that, it's our responsibility to go through and move them through the next steps.
Okay. And so if, let's say they don't want to, and they just ignore all the emails and don't come to a meeting, is there a way to remove them once you've invited them as an officer or an advisor?
Yeah, there is a way. Go ahead.
You go ahead, Kaela. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I actually haven't done it. So if you know more steps of it, that's awesome, because we just resend it every time we do initiation. We're just like, we're sending you again to see if you want it this time. But if you want to use them, you can.
Well, and I guess my reason to ask that is if somebody is quit sending me this stuff, can they unsubscribe so that even if we try to initiate them, they're not going to get it and we're not being bothersome in that regard? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. That process is really similar to how you would unsubscribe from like anything you don't want. It's available in the email. They would just go to the bottom of it and the options are there to do it. So
Yep. And in the invitee section, there's 2 ways that someone could end up in the invitee category and just kind of floating out there. One is just as Kaela said, they've never clicked accept their invitation if an invitation was sent through the GreekTrack system. The other thing that could happen is the chapter is not yet utilizing GreekTrack. They've had an initiation and they haven't yet reported it to me, because that does happen. And let's say I was just initiated. I go on FIU.org and I click on login and I attempt to create an account for myself because I know I went through initiation. Then the national office is going to get a notification that, Melissa Martin's trying to join Beta Rho chapter. Well, if the national office has no record of that person being initiated and they haven't been either flowed through the system logically through the GreekTrack software, or you haven't sent me a spreadsheet and said, hey, I need to play catch up on this initiation we had, I'm only going to grant invitee status because I don't know who you are if you were actually even initiated. So there is a lot of extra legwork that's been happening while we get transitioned onto GreekTrack that hopefully won't be there. People are tempting to create their own, or they didn't accept, through the system. If anyone has challenges getting people out of there and you want them removed, you can definitely let me know and I can dump them. In theory, at the end of every semester, we can set it to dump where they remove all of the invitees. The reason why we asked GreekTrack not to do that is because we still have chapters playing catch up and trying to reconcile their books, even coming out of COVID. So we're getting to the place where we really need to do something, but we're leaving them there for now, just to try to make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be. But that's a great question.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions about initiation or transitioning members right now?
Can I ask one more, Kaela?
Of course.
Okay, so if we put in, like if we maintain our traditions like we always have, and we send a letter, and then we get the invitees accepts, then can we put those names in as invitees at that time? Because we will have 300 individuals that are qualified, and I don't want to put 300 names into GreekTrack and then wait for them to go in and accept.
That's a great point. I'm from a much smaller university. So yeah, you can definitely do your tradition however you want and then put them into GreekTrack as invitees. Just let them know that they need to go accept that invitation so that you can move them through the next steps. But yeah,
Okay.
Please don't put 300 names in. That would be so much work. So
Yeah,
well, I wanted to tag on that, Sally. How do you get your list? Like when you contact maybe your registrar's office, how do you get your list?
Right, the registrar. And so I give them all the prefixes for all the majors that are eligible. So we have interior design, and they have 2 degrees. We have nutrition and dietetics. They have like 5 different degrees. Fashion merchandising has 1, and child development has 4. So I give all the prefixes to the registrar, and then I give them the parameters. We do maintain the GPA of no lower than 3.0. I give them the hour requirements, and then I, basically if they're a transfer, they have to have been here a semester and 12 hours. And then they send me an Excel spreadsheet, and it is big. And so I have name.
Yeah, that's great. And that's why I wanted to ask. So the thought behind GreekTrack is not to have our advisors or our officers be doing any extra legwork, right? Like we want it to be something that saves you time, not increases your schedule. So when you get your list, I don't know if you're able to ask them to customize it at all, but if you get your Excel spreadsheet, okay, so if they'll just put first name, last name, and email, that's all you need. If you save it as a CSV file, which is that comma delimited, upload it, send your invitation. There is 0 hand keying. So I wanted to clarify that. Now, if you were hand keying, depending on how, that's why I asked how you got your list. If your list came to you as, some other format, but if you're getting it as an Excel spreadsheet, there should be no hand keying unless those categories aren't broken out. But if there's a column for first name, column for last name, column for email, you can, because we do have chapters that, I've seen 240 one time. Now we know that your rate of acceptance might not be anywhere near that, then your invitee category can get heavy. But just because we can add invitees after the fact, but again, it confuses the system and then it's more manual because then I'm hand keying too.
So like you have the last 3 years for me, yes.
But and you're not alone by no means, but you can, I don't want to make it sound overly simplified. There's still, a couple of clicks and steps, but you do not, if you're getting your list in an Excel format and you can save it as a CSV, it's an upload and a couple clicks. And again, if you get ready to do that, we can talk more, and I'll let Kaela finish, but I just wanted to clarify that piece of it.
Okay.
I wanted to add we do the Joanne, I know you're on there, and that's exactly what happens at UCO. It comes in a spreadsheet, and I never had them divided. I've not always done, I did GreekTrack one time but I did it myself. And I know Joanne is even much better at it than I am, but I did that spreadsheet and sent it to Melissa with just the name, first name, last name, and email. So, yeah, that's exactly how we do it. That's exactly how we get our list too, is in that criteria.
If I was going to interject, Ohio State is very similar. And I think our process hasn't been onerous. Again, we get, multiple hundreds of names in the same manner as Sally described. And I send an email out with the names of eligible people in a blind carbon copy with an explanation. And then we actually include a link to their application. So we ask all of the people who are eligible to fill out an application. So they talk about their leadership and they talk about their scholarship, and we kind of set it up so that they can speak to, this is the kind of organization FIU is, tell us what you would do as an active collegiate. So then, which is all, we think that's a good process, but then this is where Melissa always helps me, but I'm going to try to be more independent. But essentially I take the spreadsheet of the applicants, and as long as there aren't any issues, we pretty much accept people who apply. We reserve the right not to, but we do. And then I can take that spreadsheet that's downloaded to people who've actually applied and put that into GreekTrack in the CSV or whatever that's called. Is that what it's called? The C file, not Excel. But anyway, Melissa always helps me at that point because I sort of fall apart.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though. And if your chapter has a individual application process, which you certainly can, then you would need to kind of vet another step, but keep it in that format so that when you do have it culled to who you actually want to invite, that you can just upload the file. And again, just like Kaela said, I don't want to take away from our presentation, but it's meant to make those things easier. We don't want to take away from, if you have an application, if you do a tapping, whatever you do, please do those things. But in order for the system, the software to work, we've invested in it like it should. This is how it should be uploaded. Yeah.
But, and I think that's
Celine has
I'm upload our actual invitees. And then let them know that they need to watch for it. The other thing is, our students tend to delete anything that looks like spam. So a lot of students have said because they saw my name on it, they read the email. So
that's going to be, I agree.
It works for us, but then we can definitely get the file and upload our actual invitees. And I think, then that keeps us from having 400 extra people that don't accept.
Celine has a question there.
Yeah, just a quick question, just for clarification. So I've been using the method where I upload a CSV file. So I just want to clarify, we can continue to do that method rather than using the invitee one that's being discussed right now?
It's the same thing, Celine. If you're inviting through GreekTrack, so when you click on your invitation group from your dashboard and you're uploading your CSV file and those steps, you're lightning speed ahead. You've got it. So if you were to click on members and transition members after you send that invitation with that CSV file, you're going to see them under that invitee category, this screen that Kaela's got pulled up. So it's the same thing. That's where they go essentially.
Oh, that's interesting because I don't recall, like, even if I did click that button, I don't recall having to wait until they responded to it. So I was able to move them from that list to the initiate to member right away, because I usually do it once we finish initiation. So I've never used.
Advisor, you may have some flexibility there.
Oh, okay.
And you and I can schedule some time to look at yours individually to make sure that, you know, everything's where it should be. But
Yeah, because
without some extra clicks from you, they should dump in the invitee bucket is what I call it, like that category. But it may be that you were allowed to move, but definitely reach out to me and let's connect and see if I can, you know, make sure that we don't have anything going on at the process.
yeah, because I was confused. I was like, it didn't seem to be what I was doing. So
Okay.
Yeah, and I do know that there are levels that are able to move those invitees to initiates. It's just not something that we could do as like chapter officers. But I don't know if the advisor stuff looks different. So sorry if that caused any confusion. And then I wanted to also address really quick before we move on to the next thing. Anne had mentioned that sometimes people delete the emails from GreekTrack, the invitation emails, and that's why I think I talked about it really quickly. But if someone does do that, then they can go in to GreekTrack and create an account, and then there'll be an accept invitation button on their homepage. It's bright and colorful. They should definitely see it on there. So if they do end up deleting it and they still want to go into GreekTrack, there is a workaround for that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next thing here. So I want to talk a little bit about finding resources. I know this has also been a big barrier for a lot of people on GreekTrack. So this is the GreekTrack homepage. When you log in, this is the first thing you're going to see. If you scroll down a little bit, you will be able to see where the resources are. I'll give you guys a few seconds. If you can see them, like, go ahead and put a thumbs up in chat or however you want to do that. Okay, awesome. So I'll show you guys where they're at. Right there. Which probably, there we go. Yeah, so they're really tiny, and it's a little bit hard to see with everything going on the dashboard, but we are kind of bound a little bit right now with some tech stuff and the templates of GreekTrack. So at least for the near future, this is where they'll be. You can see there's some links down here right under that for things that you might use more often. And then if you go to the right a little bit, you can click View All, which will bring you to something that looks like this. I'm not going to go into too many details on these. If you do have an officer or advisor position, I definitely recommend at least looking at your folder to see what's in there. But for the most part, they're pretty intuitive. The public relations chair has things related to chapter spotlight and social media posting. The treasurer has things related to reordering supplies, stuff like that. And then if you were to scroll down, you would also see a couple more options down here as well. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to let you guys know that if you're totally lost in the resources and looking for something and you can't find it, a great place to start is Awesome. There's also, let me go back and look at what it's called, the GreekTrack table of contents. Both of those places kind of tell you where things might be, and I really love using them. And then when you go into the vice president file, I wanted to highlight that this is where all of the professional project resources will be for y'all. The professional project is really big, and from a national perspective, it is the chapter vice president's job to do that. But I know that a lot of other officers might use this resource as well. All right, so the next thing I want to highlight is that when you go into resources there, you'll see that it is the shared by national office files. That's the first place it goes, but if you go over a couple more tabs, it's going to go to my chapter files. And then I'm going to go back to the homepage really quick to show you a second way to get to your chapter files. So you just go to more and files. And if you were a member of Beta Rho, this is what it would open up for you. I really love the chapter files. This is really what saves us from those tough transitions between officers, because we kind of have everything we need here. I cannot tell you guys how nice it is to have our initiation presentation in here now, because at every initiation we did, I felt like we were scrambling to find this presentation lost somewhere in an email from 10 years ago. It was so hard to find. So when we loaded it in here, it's like we can just breathe. We know where it's at. We can just come to initiation and start the ceremony. It's so much nicer. And then we have a couple other things here too. I won't go into right now. And I want to show you guys, if you're trying to upload files, it's really easy to do. You just go in and select who you want to have access to it. And then you click upload and get it from your computer. If you've ever had to upload an assignment for college and stuff, you're probably familiar with this type of upload system. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about a little bit are events. The events are my absolute favorite. Oh goodness, did not mean to do that. My absolute favorite part of GreekTrack. If there was nothing else on here, this is what I would use. So the two main reasons I love it, it can be used as a running resume. So when you think of scholarship, fellowship, and award time, this is so important to have. I personally have a running resume off of GreekTrack that I have a lot of other things I do in, but I categorize it by month. So for example, last October, I went to Conclave and did a couple of things related to that. I also helped with Boottacular, which is an Idaho State University Halloween event for kids. I helped with My Brother's Table, which is a community dining experience, and I also helped with a canned food drive. More than half those events were related to FIU. And so when I was applying for my scholarships, fellowships, and awards, I was able to go back to October and see the exact dates that I did that. And the last time, at least, I applied for fellowships, that was required in there. They want specific dates. So it's really, really nice for that. The other thing I love is that it combines communication, record keeping, and points features of GreekTrack, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. So to access the events, you just go to your homepage in the top bar and go to events, and you can select what you need. The things I use most often would be either view upcoming events, viewing the event calendar, and adding a new event. Yeah. If you go to view your event calendar, this is what it looks like for Beta Rho this month. So on the 14th, we had our Beta Rho monthly meeting, and then tomorrow we're actually having an initiation ceremony. And if you look at both of those, you can see that they're in blue. You can click those links and see more about the events. And I'll show you guys what kind of stuff you can add in there. I also want to point out that they are color coded if you so choose, and you can even filter the events to what you want to be specifically looking for, like meetings, professional project related stuff, etc. And if for some reason you were on this page and you go, I need to add an event, there is an add event button above the calendar on the left. So when you go to add an event, I just made like a fake event for this chapter chat. So you just put the event title, the date of the event, and then for the location, I put Zoom for this one. And I just want you to like know really quickly that there's a little error exclamation point there. And I'll tell you why in a moment. The requirement credits are really cool. So if you are keeping points for your members, so like violet points, I know a lot of chapters used to call them, you can now keep track of those on GreekTrack. And to do that, you just put in how many points it's worth and what kind of point it is. This is where you're able to color code everything. So for this, I just put that it was a meeting. So if it was on my event calendar, it would be an orange. And then when I marked as an attendee, I would get 1 credit for that. So it's a really cool way to keep violet points if you would like to. In this additional information section here, I like to include Zoom links if it's ever on Zoom with the meeting ID and passcode. I also include stuff like if it is dress code specific, if there's like confusing directions on how to find a location. I put a lot of Google Doc links in that, and you can actually add attachments later on as well. But I honestly usually just fill out this section, so I just put all my attachments in there for my members to access there. And then if you look at the very bottom here, you can see advanced options. The only advanced option I really want to highlight is this mobile check-in. And it says you must enter a valid street address for the location in order to ensure attendees are actually at the location before being able to check in. And that's what that little exclamation point was in the location when I put Zoom, because that's not an address. And it's because GreekTrack can automatically record who attends and award them points. And I haven't done this since January, so if I misrepresent how it works, forgive me. But what I remember happening is that GreekTrack would like send everyone in my chapter like a message like, oh, you have this event going on. Are you at the location? And once you were there, you could like click yes, and then it would automatically record that you were there. On that note, if that's something that anyone in your chapter is not comfortable with, like GreekTrack knowing where they're at, they don't have to use it. When it is used, this is kind of what it looks like. So I was playing around with a lot of things when I made this event. So you can see here, there's little cars next to member 1 and 2. If you require people to have a vehicle, they can select that they have a car and they can take an additional amount of people. That's a different feature. But so for the attendees that chose to use mobile check-in, there's nothing under these comments here. They were good to go. They have gotten their points. But if someone doesn't use mobile check-in and they did go to the event, you can have them manually added. It's really easy to do. You just go to update attendees and add their name in really quick. I've seen it done two-way on GreekTrack, where sometimes you can add people and like check a box next to their name, or sometimes you can like type in their name and like if you type in like the first 2 letters, it'll automatically populate like what the member's name is, which I really like because I can't remember how to spell anyone's name, but there are those different ways I've seen it done, and I think it's just been as GreekTrack transitions and updates things. But on the good side, all 6 of these people got their service hour, so they were all good to go. All right, and then this one is just from our most recent monthly meeting. The reason I included this is because it doesn't have a physical location, so it looks a little bit different, the admin actions here. If you complete the event, that is when you'll be able to add more attendees if anyone wasn't checked in already. And then secondly, it shows that you can manage attachments here. Personally, I have not used the attachment feature on the events tab. The reason for that is, one, they delete after 60 days, which for monthly meetings, I want to be able to keep the records for longer than that, especially over summer. That's a long time and everything would be deleted. So, and 2, there is a limit to how much you can upload. It's just under 70 kilobytes or gigabytes, whichever one is smaller, that you can attach to these. So I haven't chose to use that. Instead, what we've done in Beta Row is we just do meeting minutes, and that's a whole feature on GreekTrack. So you just go to more meeting minutes, and our lovely secretary last semester was so good about these. I swear we meet more often than this, but we were really heavy in our professional project at this time, and we actually kept those records separate from our standard meeting minutes because we were just meeting so much for that. But you can post meeting minutes in here, and I really love this. It really is a good way to keep records of everything that's happening, especially right now. The officers of Beta Row were all initiated right before I graduated with my undergrad degree. So they weren't super familiar with everything we had going on. And so this is a great place for them to go and like understand what was happening already, if they want to continue any of that. I know we're getting a little short on time, so I'm kind of flying through some things here. But there's just more options in the advanced options if you want to take a look at those at some point. And then once you've done everything you want with a calendar event, just hit add calendar event and it's on there. I do want to point out for communication with events, right now in Beta Row, we have kind of maintained our old form of communication with everything coming from our secretary's email, and I'll go more into why that is. So right now, the only event notification we get are either Sundays or Mondays before an event occurs, we kind of get like a list of like, this is what Beta Rho is doing this week. And that's the only thing that we have enabled right now. I'm sure there's other things you can enable, but those were the automatic settings, and I just have not changed them because we still have our secretary sending out our like other reminders for us from her university email. But if you did want to use the communication features on GreekTrack, you just go to members, view members. That'll show a whole list of everyone in your chapter. You just click their name and then there's a send message option. I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you send a message. So I just sent one to myself and I said GreekTrack testing. This is what I got in my Idaho State University email. So it does notify you when you send stuff. And then you can just hit reply and this will automatically pop up if you're signed in on the device. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. So for communications, the pros, I love that the recipient receives an email when notifications are email notification when messages are sent, excuse me. Because I'm not on GreekTrack every day. I love GreekTrack. I still don't get on it every day. So I love that something goes directly to my inbox that I have linked to my phone. I can see everything if I need to. The cons though, is that you have to open GreekTrack to reply. And that's not too tedious when I'm already signed on a device like my laptop at home. But on my phone, when I click reply, I have to like remember my GreekTrack password and all that stuff. And I have so many different apps and things going on. I can't always remember that stuff. So I don't love that about it. The other thing that I noticed, actually, while I was preparing for this presentation, was that you cannot send curated group messages from the from individual chapter officers. So from like region 4, I have a separate profile for region 4. I'm able to send like entire messages that I write out to whole regions, whole chapters, all the advisors or all the officers in a region. It's really convenient. I just select who needs it and it just goes to everyone. But you can't do that right now from like my Beta Rho profile or a chapter profile, at least not any way that I have found. So if you know how to do it, let me know, because that would be a game changer. My chapter would probably move everything to GreekTrack if we could figure that out, but I just haven't found a way to do it.
Yeah. Hey, message me, Kaela, and maybe we can make the request in the software. So we'll see.
Yeah. I actually only noticed that setting this up because I realized I've been doing everything from my region 4 account and just like sending to Beta Rho. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So yeah, we should definitely do that. So if that gets changed, GreekTrack will have everything. Like you can do everything for your chapter on there once that changes. But as it is right now, we have used GreekTrack messaging to send like those invites. We do get the emails about what's happening in the next week from the events. But for individual daily communication, Beta Rho still has our group text chats and our email chains, and that has worked for us thus far. So we've kept those just because we didn't have anything super comparable yet. A few other features I want to go over super quickly. So Melissa talked a little bit about payments, so I'm just going to kind of skip over that one. But there is points tracking features. I want to specifically point out with the points tracking that they automatically fall off every semester, but you can change that. So right now, if you started points tracking in GreekTrack, they would fall off January 9th, I believe is what it's set at. You can go in and change that. It's really easy to do. I stumbled into it. It just says change under where it says the points will expire. So that's why I don't have an image of my points from last year, is because they fell off over the summer. But the feature's there and you can extend that. And then budgeting, if you are doing payments through GreekTrack, I would probably utilize the budgeting feature as well. We don't at ISU because we're one of those universities where all of our finances have to go through our university, so we can't use a lot of payment features on GreekTrack. But our university also sends us our budget summary every month. So those things kind of go together. The other thing I really love is the comment form. If your members can send officers anonymous comments, which, having been an officer, if someone wanted to tell me something or disagreed with something, that's totally fine with me. I'm not opposed to hearing a new idea, but I do understand that, especially when you're with your peers, it can be really intimidating to tell them you disagree. So I love the comment form feature so that people can anonymously let us know, or they can tell us who they are too. Either way is totally fine. And then there's probably so much more that I don't even know about on GreekTrack. I even learned a few things from Melissa today. So if there's stuff that you use and you love, definitely let me know. I'm always trying to find ways to incorporate GreekTrack more for my chapter because it has been such a good thing so far. So I kind of flew through that last half really quickly because I really wanted to get to the part where you guys can ask questions and we can do our best to answer them. If for any reason you do think of questions later on, feel free to message me on GreekTrack, and my email is also on my GreekTrack profile, so that's okay too. But you just go to members, view all chapters / groups, and then Beta Rho or Region 4. I show up under both. And my name's Kaela Armstrong. So does anyone have any questions?
Great job. I learned a lot. And matter of fact, I want to throw out kudos to my secretary. She's on here, Viviana, learning too. So we're kind of talking on the chat on the side of some of the things you've said, but we're excited to see what we can get updated on our site. And I just want to thank you for putting this together because it helped kind of make it less scary to get involved in.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys get to use it more. It really is great. And I know I talk fast and I went through a lot of stuff quickly, but hopefully on YouTube, we can slow me down a little bit and take 2 hours for this instead. So
Thank you, Kaela.
This was wonderful, Kaela, and full transparency, I'm even learning things because, like I said, her viewpoint's different from a chapter officer versus national. So it definitely makes it less scary, as Kyle said. And I really hope that everyone at least, gives it a chance. And I think it'll help streamline. All of us have plenty of things on our plate. So hopefully it'll help you. And if you need help, Kaela, wonderful resource. Thank you so much. And also I'm here, your region counselors, collegiate reps, just reach out to us. Don't be afraid to ask.
awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And I hope you all feel empowered to use GreekTrack more. So
Thank you.
Thank you.